The question has come up. Mark death obviously devastated me. How 6 years later am I able to see life from the lens of joy or thriving or the perspective that life can be hopeful? And I want to say grief is different for every person. I will share with you my road to where I am, but I don't believe that it is a magic check mark or a way because somebody else is grieving 6, 7, 30 years later is wrong or right. I'm just sharing my situation since the question has come up. Mark's death was devastating, and I did not know how I would survive it to the point that immediately I started reaching out to other people that were widows or widowers and trying to understand how have they survived this great loss. I remember a widow reaching out to me and taking me to the spa and having a very candid conversation with me about her journey. And I was in shock and in awe and also extremely grateful for her to let me in behind the scenes to understand what was going on. A friend reached out to their therapist, and their therapist started seeing me the Friday before I actually saw Mark's body for the first time. I would call every widow and widower I know, go to lunch with them, be on the phone with them, do whatever it was to be able to hear whatever they would share with me. I started working out really hard because I was up at all sorts of times at night watching television, couldn't sleep, and I needed something to do with my energy. But those first 3 months after Mark died, I did not go to work. I was not doing much of anything but just trying to get out of bed and trying to survive. I was very vocal with my family and friends as far as how I was feeling, and they took those cues and they started lifting some of the weight. So no longer was the entire burden, the heartache, the gut wrenching part of Mark's death left only to me. They took some of that burden because I offloaded it to them, and I am grateful that they took it. My girlfriend Allison, I can tell you, I probably drank more whiskey sours in that initial part than I did like in my whole life. It's not something that I do a lot of now, but it did allow me to calm down. It was probably either going to be that or some sedatives. So, hey, you got to figure out what works for you. It was leaning into people that were willing to stay in there through thick and thin when I did go back to work, to be able to be encouraging to me. It was my faith in God in the whole process to think that God knows that this life has a beginning and an end. It was the trust of what I had experienced in breast cancer and found that there was some hope in that, and believing the same God that sustained me through that experience would somehow sustain me through this. It was journaling. It was having this little memo pad where I would write 3 things I was happy a day. Sometimes it was just one. It maybe not always got up to 3. But I believe for me, it was a combination of all those things together, day by day, step by step. And sometimes it seemed like I made a lot of progress, and then sometimes I was totally backwards. I remember when I moved here to Virginia from Pennsylvania, for some reason, every day I would drive to work, Mark's death would replay like a movie that I could not turn off. And I just had to endure it. And I don't even really know what stopped the movie from playing, but eventually it did. I remember the 1 year anniversary of Mark's death that I literally went back to the hotel where he had the heart attack in and stayed that night. Because every time I would drive past that area, it would paralyze me. And I could not live in that state of being paralyzed. And for me, that represented me leaning in to this pain, leaning in to this grief, leaning into this hurt instead of running away from it. And I know for me, that was the right mix of all of the different things that I needed to do for me to live and learn how to find joy in the life that I have. And I can say it has been helpful. I will forever miss Mark Cornwall. My heart will forever, part of it, yearn for him. But I can tell you, I have learned to live again. And I hope that as I share my journey, like the other widows and widowers shared theirs with me, that you'll be able to pick pieces of my situation that will work for you and help you in this journey. Talk to you soon.